Okay, so I'd like to welcome everybody to this supplementary briefing for the inclusive entrepreneurs. Most of you that are on know each other. However, I'd like to welcome Dr. Lisa Cameron, MP. I will do a formal introduction in a little while, but it's lovely to see everybody. And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the inclusive entrepreneur. So it is a global network which provides support to people that have protected characteristics as they look to enter enterprise. And it also encompasses people that support us to do that. And our briefings are in response to the COVID pandemic to try to offer peer support, business guidance, and much needed hope for the way forward as we emerge from the pandemic. So just a little introduction to myself. So I'm Jacqueline Winstanley, the founder and CEO of Universal Inclusion and the Inclusive Entrepreneur. I have a number of voluntary and public appointments in terms of NED roles. My career has really been all around increasing equality of access to life's opportunities. I'd now like to introduce to everybody Dr. Lisa Cameron. And Dr. Lisa Cameron is the MP for East Kilbride, Strathaven, and I'm struggling to pronounce the last bit, and maybe Lisa might be able to do this better than I am. Lesmagoho?
Lesmahigo. Lesmahigo.
And currently has a remit of a spokesperson for mental health and well-being. So if I could just hand over to Lisa to just say a little bit, because I'm very aware Lisa's done an awful lot of work in this area through the Disability APPG and recently through the Entrepreneur APPG, which was very well attended. Thank you, Lisa.
For long, because I really want to learn from everybody else today, who's much more expert than myself. I chair the Disability All-Party Group in Westminster and have done so since 2015 when I was first elected. I'm also Vice Chair of the Entrepreneurship All-Party Group, and recently we had an excellent session looking at exactly the work that you're doing, looking at how to make it more inclusive and to support people with disabilities to become entrepreneurs. I've just been so aware since I started in Parliament as an MP in 2015 that it's so stereotypical. Often when we speak about people with disabilities in Parliament or when issues are raised, it's almost always linked with DWP or benefits, or very stereotypical. And I've really tried through the All-Party Group and through the privilege of chairing that group to shift the narrative. So we managed to, we had really good collaboration with a number of the disabilities ministers to move the disabilities minister and disabilities agenda from DWP to the Cabinet Office, so that it spans all of the different departments rather than being any focus on benefits and working for others. And I've been trying to also shift it on to looking at how we can support people with disabilities to become employers, role models, mentors, employ others, and also how we can really champion that. So myself and Roberta Kearsing, who provides the Secretariat for the All-Party Group for Disability, has been working really hard with Forbes, and we're hoping to have an event. It was supposed to be this year, it will be next year now, at the Stock Exchange, really to champion entrepreneurs with disability. They're looking at a similar programme to their 30 under 30 for people with disabilities. So it's something that I think is just really important in terms of everyone being included in the economy, everyone being seen to fulfil their potential and having the supports that would enable them to do so. But also it's been really important in terms of the agenda to move those stereotypes and attitudes and to shift those at the highest levels of government into saying the real capabilities and potential of everyone in society, including people with disabilities, to be employers, to be entrepreneurs, as well as being employees, because there's value in both roles. But we need to really diversify our thinking as MPs, as peers in the House of Commons and Lords, and make sure that everyone has opportunity. And so it's one of the areas that I really want to champion, and that's why I'm pleased to be with you today, and really to learn from your experiences and the work that's been undertaken, and hope that this is the start of a long-lasting dialogue that we can continue to shift policy through in Parliament. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What I'd like to do next is introduce somebody that's, again, been very supportive of the work that we've been doing through the Women in Enterprise APPG and also the Pink Shoe Club. And there's another person to introduce after Helen, and then I'm going to position things, and then we're going to introducing the other entrepreneurs. Helen, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. I'm inspired by what you said, Lisa. I'm Helen Martin-Gee. I'm founder of Pink Shoe and actually set up the all-party entrepreneurship group many years ago. And then I'm now involved in the Women in Enterprise group. I'm so pleased to support the work of Jacqueline and everyone on this call and more widely. Inclusive entrepreneurs offer such an opportunity for the UK, and it's really great to be able to be here to support and to help and encourage more people to set up businesses and really add to the UK economy and to their own well-being. So thank you very much for including me today, and I'm sure we'll hopefully have a chance to say a little bit more later on.
Thank you. We are quite fortunate enough today to have a Global Goodwill Ambassador with us. Thank you. And if I could ask Carol to introduce herself, please.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Lisa, that is me. My braids are furloughed. So I've got lockdown hair. Nice to meet everybody. So I'm Caroline Whitehead. I am a Fellow of the Royal Society of Arts. And as Jacqueline says, I'm a Global Goodwill Ambassador. That's connected with doing work with the People's Hub and supporting lots of different initiatives around the world, but also as well, I'm looking now at local to global. So looking at local projects that are aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. And I champion SDG 5, which is gender equality, and SDG 10, which is reducing inequalities, and also 17, which is partnership working. So threading them all together. Some of the team actually look at poverty and the other ones as well. But the key thing I'm looking at is gender and reducing inequalities. My company is a Zebra Partnership, and it's not a CIC, it's a limited company, and we specialise in events, campaigns, marketing, and also we do a lot of work with young people, and so I lecture as well. Apologies for my dog going crazy at the door, if you can hear him. So the thing is that one of the organisations, I'm an executive director of 2 CICs. One of them is a People's Hub UN and UK, and the other one is the Black United Representative Network. So you've heard of Operation Black Vote, Lisa? Yeah, so we've been advised by Lord Woolley, and one of the things that we actually do is we've only just started, so we've been brewing it and we launched it, soft launch, only because of what's been going on globally. And it's basically to reduce inequality and improve opportunities in the Greater Manchester area, just so that people can see the Greater Manchester area as somewhere where people can come from African descent, that they can actually be born, get on and grow old. And that's one of the key things. It's not about the grassroots organisations, because there are quite a few out there. This is about career progression, business and entrepreneurship.
Thank you so much, Carol. That's a really good introduction. Thank you so much. And I am really sorry to everybody. We've got so many people on today, which is great, but time is short. But hopefully at the end, when we do the Q&A, there'll be opportunities to bring people back in. Thank you so much. So I just want to talk about what we're going to look at in this session. So what I wanted to do was give the Minister an opportunity to have an introduction to, what is inclusive entrepreneurship? And who are the inclusive entrepreneurs out there? To look at what are they actually doing? What are they innovating in? Are they a CIC? Are they a sole trader? Are they a limited company? do they make a really good job of what we believe to be an opportunity in a society where there is an employment gap, to look to enterprise as a way of actually taking themselves out of poverty, but also contributing to the economy. So I've asked people to do a very brief introduction to them when I bring people in, and I am so sorry, it is very brief, but just to explain to the Minister who you are, what your business is, what your particular protected characteristic is, and if you feel that if we've time, and I will say to you if we have, to actually explain a little bit more about your experience in COVID. But I may bring you all back in later if we get to that point. But very much to try to post a picture of what you're actually doing and the innovation. Because what I believe firmly is that this is a real opportunity for government to make a real difference in the employment gap by supporting inclusive entrepreneurship. We're also going to look at a summary of the difficulties that people faced pre-COVID and also since COVID. Look at some recommendations and a way forward, and then hopefully if we've time, a Q&A session at the end. So what I am going to do is start to bring people in. I've got Noreen as co-host, who's going to be very, very, very brutal possibly in terms of keeping people to time. And I'm really sorry I know you've all got such incredible stories to tell, and hopefully there'll be time to do something else at the end. Equally, the Minister will get the full slide deck with all your information and also some of the really lovely clips and short things that you've added to your slide. So nothing will be left out. I just want to really set the scene in terms of how wonderful it is, what the contribution is to the economy, and how if in this cohort that we have, we can be achieving this, how it can be duplicated across the country. And I wanted to, just before we bring people in, I just wanted to make this point. In terms of economics, the entrepreneurs that we work with are having an annual turnover of anything between 2,000 and upwards of 50,000. They're generally employing at least one support worker, sometimes 3. So if you can imagine just the people that you're going to see today and what they're bringing, contributing to the economy personally, by way of creating employment for the people, and also in some cases no longer being on benefits and having a much better health and well-being, so perhaps less of a pull on the social care and health budgets as well. So this is a massive area. There's not a lot of research out there, and that's something that we'd like to look at going forward. But I'm going to stop there because I think what's really important today is for the Minister to meet you all and hear what you have to say. I'm going to bring you in no particular order. And if you could please stick to what I've asked you to, and hopefully we'll have time at the end. So first of all, I'd like to, actually some of the slides we've put up, it may be that the entrepreneurs actually not been able to make it today, but I wanted to include them in the slide deck. So if they're not with us, I will leave the slide on for a few minutes just so the Minister can have a view of the breadth of the people that we're working with internationally. And they may pop up. Some of them are having trouble to actually access today because of their internet as well, but we'll see how we go. So the first slide is one of our longest supporters is John Keel, who has Soundtrack recording studios in Manhattan and Boston. Now, I didn't see John in the rating room, so I'm guessing he's not going to make it today. But again, the group has very strong international links as well, and that shows very strongly in the events that we do to showcase our entrepreneurs and the excellence that they're producing. If I could next please bring in Grant Logan.
Hello, my name is Grant Logan and I'm the founder of Ability Today, formerly known as Disability Today. We rebranded in 2019 because it felt like the time to start shouting about what we can do instead of what we can't. We're a CIC set up in 2017 and we're basically here to support the disabled community. I became disabled myself in 2003, so 17 years ago, after a road accident which left me paralysed from the chest down. but I have a very vivid recollection of a nurse telling me that one day I would realise I was one of the lucky ones. And at the time, I had really no idea what she meant. I was very much lying in bed feeling sorry for myself. But it didn't take me long, once interacting with other disabled people and other guys on my ward, to realise that I am still lucky. I have full use of my arms. I can still drive, I still work, I still have a brain inside my head, and I really am one of the lucky ones. So first of all, I set up the first social network for wheelchair users back in about 2008, I think, called The Wheel Life, which did very well for a couple of years until Facebook came along. But it put me in the center of the disabled community. And at that point, I felt that news and information was really hard to come by. Today, we have sent out a press release because we have launched our Academy for Disabled Journalists in partnership with the National Council for the Training of Journalists. We now have students with varying disabilities up and down the country, from hearing and visually impaired to students with cerebral palsy, stroke and ataxia, paralysis, and much more. And we're very proud that we've launched that today.
Thank you.
There we go.
James, please.
I'm a singer-songwriter, musician, and I'm also I also have a disability. I'm hearing impaired, and I have been since I was born, since birth. And I think I was the guest last week, I think, wasn't it, or the week before?
I think
yeah.
Week before.
Yeah, and yeah, so yeah, and I guess that's me. That's what I do, and like, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what other people have to say and what we can kind of contribute to the chat.
Can I just say on that, James, because I think you're being very modest. So James is an excellent singer-songwriter. He's presented at a number of our events and concerts in Liverpool, and also you do everything yourself, don't you? You're not record labelled. You do everything that you're doing yourself at the moment.
Yeah.
And also, are you doing collaboration on a COVID song at the moment?
Yeah. So that was I was commissioned by the Greater Manchester City Council to compose, write and record a song for the like as a response to COVID-19, and this was as well as like the commissioned a group of artists to do it. So I'm part of this group, and yeah, so like I've recorded the song, I've sent it to them, and that should be out maybe soon, this week, next week, something like that. But I record a lot of my music myself in this room where I am now, and like Jeffrey said, yeah, I'm unsigned, I'm independent, I'd say, and I work and in a lot of different like creative roles. Like I recently made my own music video from home, and I've been kind of getting involved and learning as many skills as possible.
That's brilliant, thank you. Just to go back to Grant, so Grant, you're a CIC, aren't you? And James, you're a sole trader?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Lady Sharon.
Hello and welcome to Dr. Lisa. Thank you very much for asking me to be on here today. My name's Lady Sharon Farley-Mason. I'm the owner of Glamsticks, providing bespoke and designer services where I embellish mobility aids such as canes, crutches, walking sticks, wheelchairs, wheelchair covers, and even running blades, the only running blade in the world. I also do personal and home accessories. I operate as a sole trader. and have had the business for 7 years. I'm a disabled entrepreneur, having had a life-threatening accident by a horse riding accident in 1999. And then following on, I had an operation in 2010, which effectively pushed me out of the mainstream employment. At that time, I found little to no support for the disabled. Through Glamsticks, I am now an online global seller, supported by Access to Work scheme and the Inclusive Entrepreneur Network run by Universal Inclusion. I also have business and marketing support, which enable me to run my business. In addition, since I joined the network, I have spoken at events talking about my journey to entrepreneurship, and I've also started to move my business into a global network market. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lady Sharon. Can we hear from John Cowan, please?
I'm John Cowan. I run a company called Spirit Motorsport Limited. We're a limited liability company, it's a limited company, and we do race team. We're a race team. We also supply hospitality, or we do when there isn't a international pandemic going on, which is sort of pretty much ground that to a horse at the moment, and a little bit of air charter work to supplement the motorsport hospitality.
Brilliant. Thank you, John. Okay, so Aisha unfortunately can't be with us today, but just to speak a little bit about Aisha. Aisha is one of our very earliest inclusive entrepreneurs, and she is from the deaf community and runs a business which supports the NHS to make it more accessible to the deaf community. And unfortunately, Aisha's had a death in the family and can't be with us today, but I did want to still include her slide. If we could now please bring in Jane Cordell. Obviously, in these briefings, we do have people who do not communicate verbally sometimes, or are from the deaf community, and we want to embrace that with everybody. So Jane does have an interpreter with her today, and this has been working really well so far, and I've had an interaction with Jane via Zoom, so I'm hoping that goes as well today. So over to you, Jane.
Hello, Jacqueline. Thank you for this opportunity to take part, and thank you to Dr. Cameron for giving her time to listen to us. My name is Jane Cordell, and in the photograph you see the co-director of our social enterprise, Results CIC. His name is Hormoz Ahmadzadeh. We're 8 years old. We are a community interest company based in the Northwest, in Salford. I was an orchestral musician before becoming profoundly deaf in my early 20s, and I've been a teacher, editor, and I've worked for 10 years in the British government as a diplomat. I was the first diplomat to work at the level I did, first secretary level, who had profound deafness. So Hormoz and I draw on our lived experience, which is intersectional. We're both disabled. Hormoz has a significant mental health condition. He's also a migrant and immigrant to this country. He's a refugee. And we cover a wide range of minority characteristics between us. We provide professional coaching and training to people who would often not be able to access that. Anybody who feels marginalised. We've produced 2 social impact reports so far the past 2 years. I'm holding it up, which try to capture the effect we're having. In terms of sustainability, the year-on-year increase in our business was 66% from 2 years ago to the last financial year, of which we are very proud. And we operate a lean business model, which means we don't have any shareholders, and we hold any surplus, a reserve, in what we call an inclusion fund. Currently, we're making use of some of that inclusion fund to coach frontliners who are working under the COVID crisis, Today, I've had the pleasure of coaching to senior disabled civil servants. We have a contract for central government for that, plus one very busy GP who's receiving coaching under a COVID scheme. I benefit from having a lip speaker who's not an interpreter, Sarah Maguire, not Roy Maguire, and the Blacktop is my lip speaker. Without access to work, I couldn't have helped to create this company and get it on the sustainable footing I have. We love what we do, and I think that helps us do it well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jane. If I could bring you Steve Hopwood, please.
Hello, everybody. Name is Steve Hopwood. I currently run a company called Swift & Sure. I'm a sole trader. As you see, it's a car transportation, company. I collect and deliver cars from £50 eBay barn finds up to, well, whatever the customer has. A £50,000 Aston Martin, Porsche 911s, anything and everything, mainly in the UK. But I run under a company, my recognised company for the Inland Revenue is Black Dog Enterprises. Now, Black Dog, not because of depression, because I had a Labrador who's unfortunately gone now, and when I was feeling depressed, he used to bark and want to go out for walks, so I thought he's making me get out, so I thought that's a good name for a company, Black Dog Enterprises. There's a little bit of a tail there. Roughly about me, 24th of July 1986, I had a flying accident. When I say a flying accident, I was riding down the road on my motorbike and a car hit me and I went flying down the road for about 200 feet. And as a result of my injuries, I lost my right arm above elbow through a severe nerve injury, and my right leg below knee through a crush injury. I wear prosthetics, which give me a degree of mobility and a little bit of dexterity, but they cannot replace the original items. I suppose the easiest way to describe it, when in the first few weeks after the accident, I was utterly lost and lonely and dumped on a barren desert island of despair. I managed to get off that island through the help of the NHS, good old NHS, who screwed me back together again, and also 13 anonymous people who donated their blood, because as the red stuff was coming out, they were pumping it in. So 13 people saved my life along with the NHS. I can read and write, and I come from Norwich, so I can't ride. I drive a tractor, but that's me. I'm not an academic or anything else. I've always just sort of got along with things. And then when I had the accident, I felt as though I was dumped in the gutter of life. I'm still alive. I had my family. They were grateful for me. Me and the wife just helped each other. And I went back to work a year after the accident. Basically to a job which my boss at the time, I was grateful for a job, but it was just, I'll just give the disabled guy a menial job and we've done our bit. I've done menial jobs in the years following that, but finally in 2005, I'd had enough of doing menial jobs and I got out and went self-employed. I like driving because driving is my independence. As you see, I've got a Land Rover Discovery, automatic, power steering, and it's a lovely thing to drive. I can drive one-handed without my arm on. I can drive even without my prosthetic leg on. So a bit of a strange sight when I stop at service stations. But that's my independence. I get support through Access to Work for support worker to do the physical activities which are difficult for me. And also because I have anxiety and depression problems, on long journeys, having a support worker helps me with my anxiety as I drive along, because it is a bit quiet on your own sometimes on the motorway. Even if I'm not talking, it's just having somebody there. So that's thanks for Access to Work for that.
Steve, sorry, are we okay to come back in the Q&A? We might touch on that again, but it's fine, it's not a problem. Not a problem at all.
I'm on my soapbox. But basically, yes, I've just got on with things.
Thank you so
Sorry,
much.
beg
It's
your
all right,
pardon.
not a problem. I've had a message from Mary, who is the next person we were going to introduce you to. I don't think she's managed to join us. Her dad's one of the people who are shielding at the moment, and I think she's not managed to join us today. So Mary, again, one of our earlier entrepreneurs, and Mary has developed a product called Cassiopeia, which is built on the Greek myth and actually symbolises women supporting women. I think this is a wonderful initiative, as they all are, but hopefully you'll get a chance to hear from Mary again. If I could now please move on to our next. So again, unfortunately, Abba's not able to make it to be with us today. Carol, could you just say a very quick few words about Abba, please?
Abba is amazing, and we gave her the Positive Role Model Award. She's a community champion in the borough of Stockport. She has been supporting mainly women, refugees, asylum seekers, running different projects to empower them and give them a voice. But also as well, she's got a CIC organisation called YACO, and that stands for Ebony and Ivory Community Organisation. And that's exactly what it is. It's about unity and it's about diversity for all. She's experienced that supporting women who have left prison as well, because she used to go to prison.
Great, thank you so much. Just to go back to Steve. Steve, you're a sole trader? Are you a limited company? Sole trader, okay, thank you. Thank you. Now, Monzo has asked me to read this to you, and I will do that. I'm sorry, I'm going to look and not look at the camera while I'm doing this. So my name is Monzo Maya. I'm 40 years old and I have cerebral palsy. I use an electric wheelchair to get around outside and a walking frame when indoors. I also use an electronic talk box and basic BSL to communicate. Over the past 20 years, I've been committed to the disability movement, and I've wanted to be self-employed. Now, let me just go back down. One of my greatest aspirations is to become an entrepreneur, and over the past few months, I have started taking steps to start a business selling artificial and wooden flowers. I have looked at various wholesalers and found one I would like to purchase from, and I've managed to find an accountant and a cabin at a garden centre where I can sell my products from. Unfortunately, due to the current situation, all of that has been put on hold. And I'm very aware it could potentially take me a long time to build up my business. However, I can, if getting appropriate support, contribute to the economy and deliver some wonderful surprises to people along the way. I'm a sole trader. Thank you, Monzo. Thank you. Again, I didn't see Sarah in the waiting room, so I'll give a little explanation of Sarah. So Sarah is a fellow of the RSA and also a Pink Shoe member. Sarah has a lot of experience in health and social care, but recently decided to move to Wales and is actually opening, so quite incredibly, an art gallery in Wales, and I can't wait to see this. Sarah, I won't say too much about Sarah's story because it's not my place to tell it, but Sarah really has overcome some significant mental health challenges, and it's wonderful to see what she's doing. She will be as successful in this as she was in the health service, as an entrepreneur in health and social care, and I can't wait to when we can come out of lockdown, we can go and see her. Sarah is a limited company. I just want to bring in Lynn Coop, please.
Hi, Jacqueline. Apologies, I wasn't expecting to introduce myself
It's
today.
fine.
I was just listening. Hello, I'm Lynn Kopp, founder and managing director of the Work Life Company. We are an organisation that delivers executive coaching, leadership development, and organisational change, primarily across the NHS, but also in other organisations as well. And I'm an author and public speaker in my spare time. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Brilliant, thank you so much. I'd like to bring Aaron in, please.
So I'm Aaron Hornback. I'm the director and founder of Horizon Health Network. At the moment, I'm a sole trader, what Horizon Health Network is for is helping people with their holistic approach to health, so physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and then looking at the well-being of their social life, their occupational well-being, and the well-being of their economics, or what they prioritize in their life. I'm a pastor and a personal trainer, and so I really care about the whole being and helping people overcome the obstacles that they face in their daily living, but also in their minds and in their physical well-being. So helping people realize you can overcome the challenges you have, and that's what I'm there for.
Thank you. That's great. And also, in terms of our organisation, our Health and Wellbeing Guru on our Friday briefings, which is greatly received by everybody. I'm just hoping we can now go back to Noreen, actually. Lovely. Okay, Noreen, over to you.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline. My name is Noreen Cesario Barrows. I'm the founder and principal of Market Accents, which is a thought leadership, strategic marketing and communications consultancy, which I set up in 2007 after a corporate career in financial services, travel and hospitality with international blue chip organizations. Market Accents is a WeConnect certified woman-owned business. I am working as a sole trader with a network of associates and partners. And I now channel knowledge, experiences, and passion into providing direction, big company expertise, and hands-on marketing and communications to businesses to help them find the market, communicate effectively with their audiences, and trade effectively as well. I'm a firm believer in equality, and as an inclusive entrepreneur, I'm very passionate about education and empowering women in enterprise. I work quite a lot, as you can see from my profile. I'm involved in a number of both local and global organizations and NGOs, pushing towards the agenda for gender trade across. And in fact, I'm also part of the Pink Shoe team, and I work together with Helen and Jacqueline and a few other of the Pink Shoe members who are on this call. Thank you.
Thank you, Noreen. Before we sort of leave the entrepreneur section, we do have two relatively new people to our network who don't have a slide as yet, but I wondered if possibly Sarah and Susan would just like to just say hello, I suppose, at this point.
Hello there, thank you, Jacqueline. Nice to meet you all. Yes, I'm Sarah Meredith, and I'm possibly in the minority here because I don't have a protected characteristic, but my company is involved with this in as much as my company is London Dyslexia Network. So I specialise in dyslexia and other specific learning difficulties. We support everyone, children and adults, but I like to focus very much on the adults, particularly in the workplace. And just listening today, dyslexia in particular very much is a strength in entrepreneurship. People with dyslexia have amazing strengths. They're creative, they think outside the box, they will take risks. So they're very much, you know, excellent candidates to be entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, by the time they do become adults and can work and maybe think of starting a business, very often their self-esteem is so low, then, you know, they cannot, you know, the thought of actually starting a business, that they don't have that ability. So it's very much linked with mental health as well. So
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, that's brilliant. Susan?
I'm Susan Greenwood. I have been working with entrepreneurship for many, many years. I'm a great believer in encouraging people to fulfill their potential. That means that everybody has potential and everybody has something to fulfill. What I like to do is to make sure that everybody can look at what they can do, not what they can't do, and how they can go about achieving that. I'm registered blind and have been for 24 years, but have run several businesses, and I'm involved in the Pink Shoe and have been involved with Jacqueline on one or two different issues. Lovely to meet you.
And that is great to have you here, Susan. Thank you. So I don't think we've got Rob back in the waiting room yet. So, but if he does come in, we'll bring him in a little bit later. So before I move on to some of the issues we're going to look at, I'm hoping that has provided for you, Lisa, a good overview of the sort of things that people are doing, because that's what I really want to concentrate on. And I think that's what everybody here wants to concentrate on. Steve has a really good saying, actually. It's about business, not benefits. And I think that's something that's foremost in our mind. And as we do take the work forward, we want to concentrate on the positives. We want to concentrate on the resilience and the innovation and how we can support government to actually look at what we've done here and how can we cascade this and the impact that it could have. I'd like us now to move on the bits that we have to look at. We can't not mention them. However, keep in mind the positives. So I want to just touch briefly on the pre-COVID barriers. Now, I have provided the Minister with quite a comprehensive briefing anyway, so I'm not going to dwell too long on this. But this is what people from our network are telling us across the board. Sarah, could you move the pictures, please? Because I can't. Thank you very much. So we feel there's a generalised lack of understanding of inclusive entrepreneurship and its contribution to the economy. I hope what you've seen today is that these people are running bona fide businesses and definitely contributing to the economy. That there was and still is very little sector-specific business support. So there is business support out there, but it's not yet hitting in terms of how people that have protected characteristics, how they actually navigate becoming an entrepreneur, particularly those who have the complex health conditions. Difficulty with access to finance. Most people, particularly disabled entrepreneurs, do not have a track record which would allow them to access finance easily. And there's a lack of practical support in managing complex health conditions within enterprise. The only thing that we have access to is the Access to Work Award, and that's the final one in terms of pre-COVID. And that is really to be summed up, in addition to the specific things I sent to you, Lisa, is what we see it as. This is an incredible programme. If you think about this, to give the level of income it does to every individual to be able to actually have support, both in mainstream employment and as an entrepreneur, that's incredible. The problem arises when you have conflict between the intent and the administration of the Access to Work Award. And of all the things that I sent to you, everybody who you've seen today would give you a story of their experience of access to work. But equally, everybody would also say that they wouldn't be able to do what they do without it. So it's you know, we need to highlight it, but we want to concentrate on the positives. It's about how can we improve it, and as we constantly say in terms of our recommendations, is it's possibly in the wrong place, because sitting it within DWP links it constantly with benefit and not with business and innovation. So if we now look at the post-COVID additionality in terms of barriers, so for us it brought further levels of difficulties. Some of our members say, actually, we're used to some of the isolation that we've experienced post-COVID. But for most of us, it has brought business disruption and a lack of information and feeling that our voice has been lost in the bigger picture. That predominantly people are falling through the cracks in terms of government measures, business interruption. And unfortunately, there's been further disarray in respect of the intent and administration of the Access to Work Award. And perhaps when we do the Q&A session, there might be an opportunity. I'm not sure on your time, Lisa, if you have questions, particularly for people in terms of the experiences post-COVID in that respect. I'm sure people would like to discuss that. But again, we're all about the positive. So what I'd like to do now is just touch again on the recommendations. Okay, so this is a quick win for government. These are very simple things that can be put into place very quickly, but they'll make a massive difference to ensuring that this sector continues beyond the pandemic. So we've asked that the government suspend the annual cap, that they fast track any new claims, that they suspend the annual turnover requirement. It would be unfair to hold us to that at the moment. That they accept digital submission and payment requests. And again, to be fair, they have done this, but they've only done this for employed people. They're struggling to understand that this is just as important for self-employed people to be able to submit digitally. We've asked them to allow for longer access to the mental health strand of the award, and that they fast track applications for ergonomic assessments for working from home. That they extend our award periods for 2 years without review. That will be hugely beneficial both to the department, who will not be having another thing to be looking at and concerned with when they're absolutely snowed under dealing with COVID. To fast track any additionality claims relating to support workers who are self-isolating or on 12-week lockdown. If your support worker goes off work, at the moment there's no provision for you to bring somebody in to replace them, and they'll lose their job. To recognise and consider the way disabled entrepreneurs manage their complex health conditions, and consider additional measures of support which don't require us to give up our access to work awards as part of the process. A lot of the measures that were put in place, we had to give up our jobs in order to access the support. It would be very, very difficult to do that because we'd lose our access to work award, and the chances of getting it back in good time to allow us to continue would be next to nil, unfortunately. But the Chancellor amends the Self-Employed Income Support Scheme to recognise the particular needs of the disabled entrepreneur within it. And by that, what I'm talking about is, hopefully what you've seen today, the businesses are across the spectrum, whether they are CIC, etc. Some will be making just above the criteria to get access to work. Some might be having a huge social impact. And at the moment, government doesn't recognise that entrepreneurship, particularly for people with protected characteristics, goes beyond profit. There are so many other benefits for supporting this sector. And finally in this, before I hand over to my colleague Helen, we're actually saying what we feel is necessary is the creation of an APPG which is dedicated solely to inclusive entrepreneurship. Because it is discussed in other arenas, but it's often as an add-on, or it might be that that's what somebody might be concentrating on that week, but they may come round to it again in another 4 months when it's the turn of a particular group. We feel this is a massive opportunity, as I said earlier, to really address the employment gap, and it would benefit greatly from the creation of an APP dedicated to inclusive entrepreneurship. So I'm actually going to hand over now to my colleague Helen, who's going to perhaps go into a little bit more detail of what that could look like, and particularly a proposal that we would like to put forward of a joint APPG between Pink Shoe and ourselves with the shared secretariat. Thank you. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you, Jacqueline, and I've been completely inspired by everything that we've heard this afternoon, and I'm sure Dr. Cameron has too. So yes, we're very aware, Dr. Cameron, of your important role as Vice Chairman of the All-Party Entrepreneurship Group. As I mentioned earlier, that's something that I helped to set up many years ago, and have obviously handed on the great work of the Entrepreneurs Network and what they're doing now. So we're very mindful of how much activity the Entrepreneurship Group itself is doing. But as Jacqueline has outlined, and as really all the different facets of the work that we've been doing with all the amazing entrepreneurs you've seen today and more widely, we believe it would be a really good forum to have an all-party parliamentary group specifically focusing on disabled entrepreneurs and inclusive entrepreneurship. So bringing together the team of people that many years ago set up the All-Party Entrepreneurship Group, we'd like to volunteer our services to do such a thing. And we would love to do it with your blessing, and perhaps, you know, in tandem with the work that the entrepreneurship group is doing. So I don't know, as Shadow Minister, whether it's appropriate for you to become chairman of that group. That would obviously be our ideal. But if it's not appropriate, perhaps we could set up the all-party group for disabled entrepreneurs, inclusive entrepreneurship, with your blessing and with your support. So I don't want to put you on the spot necessarily, but we would be so honoured if you would be happy to work with us on this. As I say, we can do all the work. We've got the secretariat in place. It's just a case now of finding the right people to make this happen. And clearly this is something that's very important to you. You've given up a huge amount of your time to be with us today. We're very honoured and grateful for that. And I do hope that we can work with you on this new group. Thank you.
So again, I'm not quite sure of your time, Minister. I don't know if you'd like to just come back after seeing that, and then if you do have time, we could open it up to Q&A, but understand fully if you don't have time.
Yeah, no, I've got another 15 minutes or so, and I think that's a fabulous idea. We were going to try to put together a joint inquiry report from a session we had a few weeks ago on inclusive entrepreneurship between the Disability All-Party Group and the Entrepreneurship All-Party Group, looking at inclusive entrepreneurs and the barriers and challenges, and what more support should be done and undertaken. So there's a potential for an inquiry report into this just now as well. I mean, it's an area that I'm extremely interested in and have been working on through my roles in both the Entrepreneurship All-Party Group as Vice Chair and as Chair of the Disability one. So it was either a matter of bringing together the two groups to do the inquiry, or to take it forward with a new all-party group. And I think the thing for most MPs and peers coming into a new all-party group is the issue of the Secretariat, which we have kindly sort of already thought about the workload and how that would be taken forward. So I think that that's definitely something to look at, to have a key focus on, a group, an all-party group going forward. And I think it would be really welcomed in Parliament, to be honest. We have a lot of all-party groups, so the main issue is having the Secretariat in place and an experienced Secretariat, which you already have, given the experience from the Entrepreneurship Group. So I think that's a fabulous idea. I'm very happy to support it, and it might be that we can have a smaller meeting to kind of talk about the logistics of that moving forward and how we would take it forward at this time. I'm not sure. I'm sure the Commons Registrar will have updated guidance on how to establish a new group at this point when people can't actually all be in a room together. It may be that they can reorganise that through Zoom meetings, etc., of the different MPs needed. But it's something that we can work on, and I think that's a good idea. Would the inquiry report then be best to sit with this all-party group moving forward?
So, yes.
Right. So that's something that I would hope would continue, because I think this is an area. I spoke with the Prime Minister's Special Advisor on Disability 2 weeks ago now. I think it is on Friday, about 2 weeks ago, who was also extremely interested in this particular area and developing support and developing policy and making sure that everyone is included and championed. So I'm keen to support your idea. I'm delighted that there's a Secretariat there, because that's always the first question. And I think what we maybe need to do is go back to the Commons Registrar and find out how we set up an all-party group at this point in time when we're not really meeting in groups in Parliament as such.
Perfect, thank you. Do you have anything else to say, Helen, before I move forward?
No, that's really positive, Dr. Cameron. Thank you so much. We'll do all the legwork to put it all together. And am I hearing that might be something you'd be willing to chair if we did when we set up this group?
Most definitely, and I don't think Roberta's here today, or else she would be telling me no, I couldn't. Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm just muted.
Oh dear. Well, you know, Roberta keeps me right. I think that's fine. She doesn't like me to take on too many additional things in case I can't give as much time as needed for everything I'm doing. But the main thing with the all-party groups is to have a Secretariat that has experience and pulls things together, so that the rest of it flows from that. So I think Roberta, have we got you on board for that?
And just quickly, because I know I don't want to take up too much time, but Roberta, I'm going to put you in touch with Sheila Williamson, my colleague who couldn't join us today, and she will be one of the key administrators of the group. She's actually based in the House of Lords along with myself, or isn't at the moment, we're virtual. But I'm going to stop now and say thank you so much, Dr. Cameron, for everything. I actually need to leave very shortly because I have
okay, thank you. Thank you,
but thank you. This has been so inspiring. Thanks to everybody. Thank you.
I hope as well that I think what we have shown you this afternoon, Lisa, is that we are committed to doing that, and it will be a very successful APPG having the joint experience going forward. Okay, thank you. So in terms of then, I'm just in how to do a Q&A. I'm wondering if this, from what you've heard, is there anything specific you'd like to ask? And I've probably got a good idea who I could pull in to give you an answer. That might be the better way of doing it. Can you think of anything specific you'd like to ask, Lisa? Lady Sharon.
Yeah, it's hiya. Yeah, when I applied for my access to work last year, I also applied for equipment and stuff like that. Now, I got my award, I think it was September, and I'm still waiting for my table to arrive. This is, you know, it's okay us doing our work and what we do, but we need the equipment as quick. I don't know what you can do about that, but it seems to be whenever you phone up Access to Work, you get somebody who's thinking on the DWP side rather than the grant side that we should be getting, and they're treating us like we don't deserve anything, you know, and we should fight for this. So I don't know what you could do about that, if there's anything you could do, or, you know, look into really changing where we have the system where it should be.
Yeah, I mean, certainly for yourself, if you can drop me a line as chair of the Disability All Party Group, I will speak to Justin Tomlinson, who's the minister in this area, and I'm sure we can chase up the equipment that you should have. In terms of the way the system works, it's probably one for the APPG to take forward, I would think, and I imagine it's going to be one of the recommendations that would come out of any inquiry report that's undertaken. And then would be something that we could take forward. The other important thing possibly is that we could include representatives from this group in I have meetings with the Disabilities Minister every 6 weeks or so in my role as chair of that all-party group. So we could certainly have representatives, not just from Disability Rights UK who come to that meeting with the Minister, but also from the Inclusive Entrepreneurship Group as well, in order to have the two tracks working at the same time in terms of the different issues. We tend to be working very much on employability in the other all-party group. So I think it would be really helpful to just keep reminding the Minister of the, you know, the focus on entrepreneurship as well, actually.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think it's probably fair to say if each one of you spoke to the Minister today, I think everybody would have something to say about Access to Work. And I don't think there's much that the Minister hasn't heard already in terms of it, you know, from the point of access right the way through to review, etc. It's that balance, isn't it? It's the scales of, we need it to do what we do, but it really does. It's a mammoth task navigating it, accessing it, managing it, etc. and so on. But so I think you're right in terms of the inquiry through the APPG. That's probably a good way of dealing with that. Is it maybe? Would you like to hear how people have actually, how they're coping since COVID? Would that be useful?
That would be
Again,
great. Yeah.
Right. So we'll go through the list again, just because your boxes keep moving around. So I'll bring you in as we did before. So if we could start with Grant, please.
As someone said before, I mean, I've been kind of self-isolating for 17 years now, so not a huge amount changed straight away for me. But I did lose my team of volunteers, and I did lose my support worker on a face-to-face basis. So we now speak on the phone for about 4 or 5 hours every day. And we're not able, not able to go out. So we've had to change the way that we deal with business and communicating. And I suppose, the one thing I would say is, thankfully, we do have technology in this day and age that we can still communicate with everyone and continue. But I know certainly for, I mean, I'm still struggling to get my support worker paid for the last few months because she's caught in a backlog that is several months pending still because they've lost the paperwork and, so there's always seems to be issues with access to work. There's always seems to be issues with responding to people. Yeah, I mean, I could moan and moan about access to work, which I don't think is probably appropriate to do that right now. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to make the best of a bad situation, and I think we are in most cases. And we're really pleased that we've actually managed to launch our academy, which we thought was going to be put on the back burner. But one of the positive things for us is actually we've been able to open it up to students up and down the country, because we're now doing it via Zoom and doing weekly tutorials and lessons with accredited teacher from the NCTJ. So yeah.
Thank you. That's brilliant, Grant. Thank you. Carol, sorry, I should have brought you in first. Sorry. Just a quick thought on COVID and your experience of that.
Oh, from a COVID point of view. So just so Lisa knows, I've not got a disability or anything, but my protected characteristics are obvious. I'm a female. I'm a representative of the BAME community. So those are the things from the protected characteristics. COVID has affected me because if you think of the Olympic rings, and this is how we do our business. So the Zebra Partnership is publishing events, campaigns, marketing and PR. That's our 5 Olympic rings. And 50% of the business is events. So that's gone down the Swanee. So our pipeline has imploded in that way. So there's a lot of things that we've had to try and do and take it online and be extremely creative. But there are certain things like the community engaging events that can't go online. But I wasn't going to ask you a question about COVID. I was going to ask, how do I get onto an APPG? Because I've looked at one which is BAME, BAME Business, and that would be a really good one for me to be on there, because then I can sort of support Jacqueline from the point of view of the inclusive entrepreneur, representing some of the BAME side of things.
Sure. The best thing to do is to contact the Secretariat and ask to be included in their mail shots, and then you'll get to hear about when the meetings are being held, and they'll email you the details, whether they're being held in Parliament or whether or not you can attend via Zoom, which is what's happening just now with the restrictions. So yeah, it's mainly, if you go onto the list, if you find the one that you're looking for, you'll see the bit that says Secretariat and contact that individual. If you don't get a response from them, then I would go to the chair and contact the chair, and all MPs have, similar email addresses. It's just their first name dot second name at parliament.uk. So you'll be able to contact the chair, but I think probably it's quicker to contact the Secretariat to be
right. And from a due diligence point of view, do I need to send anything?
I think so. They might ask a bit about your background. Yeah, and you can forward, your slide. That's got everything on. But we're trying to really make Parliament as inclusive as possible. So
Yeah.
members of the public or people who are involved in different organisations, who are patrons, who are leading in different fields. Obviously, we're extremely keen that people are involved at all levels coming into Parliament to speak on APPGs about their experience, how we can do things better, and to support the work that's done there.
Yeah, I think
Carol, I can help you with that as well, with my experience of being on APPGs as well. Right, are we okay to bring James in? Thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to make kind of 2 quick points coming from my perspective as a musician in COVID-19. Like I think the main point that a lot of people like me have experienced is that because the music industry is so based around the live sector, that like I think from the moment, I think it was around mid-March, it just kind of collapsed completely. And I think I mentioned this in my in my like guest appearance on this panel a couple of weeks ago, that I hope that it kind of allows the industry as a whole to kind of reassess itself and on how it's kind of how it's been so weighted toward the live music scene. Another point I want to make as well, just to refer back to the commission piece that I've been asked to write music for. That was started by the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, and it was mainly as a reaction to because a lot of artists would have had their commissions cancelled due to the COVID pandemic. So they wanted to set this up so it kind of gave as many artists as possible just something to kind of tie them over. And I wondered if there could be like some sort of online resource, or maybe support in accessing more funding, and you know, more commissions like that. I know it's not a question, but it was just something that I found that a lot of people have been talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an all-party group for creative industries as well, which it might be useful for you to contact. I think it's Sharon Hodgson who's the MP that runs that, unless it's shifted to another MP. But she's very, very active in relation to the creative industries, and I know that all-party group has been looking at the impact of COVID, particularly on industries that depend upon events, and you know, a lot of the creative industries too. So it would be really worthwhile, I think, you contacting that all-party group and finding out what work they're doing just now, because I imagine it will be based round about the impact of coronavirus on the industry, if that's helpful.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
John, do you have a quick question?
Yeah, no questions at all, because I don't actually use the Access to Work programme.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Jane, do you have anything specific?
Very grateful for today's discussion. I've made a couple of points on chat, which is, I know, Jacqueline, you feel about quite strongly too, which is the mentality of housing, the Access to It grant within the DWP. Unfortunately, aligns that with a sense of benefits, which it isn't. It's an enabler, and it needs to be housed in the right place so that it's aligned with business development and the contribution that we all make. Recognition of our innovation is definitely a step that needs to be considered and thought about.
Okay, all right, thank you. Steve?
Hello. Car collection delivery service literally stopped overnight. So yeah, work. You know, I've had nothing. Well, I've had food jobs, so not as much as I normally have. However, what I'm doing is what I've done since 1986, for my accident, is adapt and change. Over the years, loads of people have said how inspiring I am. Even yesterday, a guy said he thought I was absolutely fantastic, but I've just done things which I need to do. Things have come my way, and I've coped in my manner. So what I'd like to do is to turn it into a business idea, that I've got this. It's me. This how I cope with things. But obviously, with only one arm, people see, that's inspirational. So I'm now looking into is it vlogs? Is that correct, Jacqueline?
Vlogs. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, because I'm come from the Stone Age, so I've only just now found out about Zoom. So this is the strange thing that you talk to a laptop and there's other people on there. So I'd like to know how do I do these vlogs? And so I've done presentations to occupational therapy students at the UEA in Norwich, and held a 2-hour unaided presentation. But again, health professionals are interested in the skills that I've acquired. So I've got them there. I just don't know where and how to use them.
So are you saying, Steve, that in terms of COVID, what it's done is made you, use your resilience again to turn to do something different as well?
Yeah. I like to work because work, I get paid, but it gives me a sense of purpose. If I haven't got any work, then my sense of direction goes completely out the window and my depression comes steaming in. Self-esteem goes, through the floor, and I go through all these hoops and loops again to build myself up. So I thought, right, the only way to solve that is to look at these skills that I've acquired, that all these hundreds and hundreds of people keep saying, Steve, I think you're absolutely fantastic. And right, okay then. So let's use those skills to not only my benefit, but to the whole world's benefit. That if Steve, the chap with one leg, can fly an airplane and ride a motorbike and scuba dive and drive a truck and do this and do that, let's hope that, I'm not saying anyone else, another amputee, could do the same as I'm doing, but if someone could think, cool, blimey, that chap was doing that, I'll have a go at doing something, doing something.
Definitely. And it's been great to see, because I hope you don't mind me saying this, because I think of all the entrepreneurs that I work with, it hit you the hardest. And it's been really interesting to see how you have come round from this and actually started doing other things.
This is just another blip. I've had 34 years of fighting this or fighting that, trying to find a decent job. So in the end, I thought, right, no one's going to employ me doing what I want to do, so I'll employ myself.
Right, thank you. Sorry, Steve, I'm so sorry. I just need to bring other people in as well, because I know I'd love to keep Lisa here for another hour or so, but I know she's got other things to do. Right, I'm going to touch very briefly on, Monzo had a question that I'm just going to put to you, Lisa. Again, it's an access to work thing, and it's just a comment that it's so complex to make the application, and some people are able to access support to do that, but not everybody can. So that's just something he'd like to say. I think probably at the minute, Aaron, I don't know if Aaron's still with us. I think Aaron might have left for the day. And I think Sue, I think we're just left with Noreen, Susan and Sarah. If you want to just say very quick things about your experience in COVID, and then I think I'll probably just do a summation then, and then we'll call it a day. So Susan, thank you.
Can I just share quickly today with you, and that's why I was late, and I'm sorry I was late, how important having the internet and that connection is to COVID. Mine went down for the day, and I have been so lost and totally unable to contact people. And it really is, it's so important, whatever you're doing, whether you're running a business, whether you're working for other people, it is so important. And I think the pushing towards having a strong internet across the country is essential.
Thank you.
Share that, because that really, I was lost today.
Oh gosh, but I'm so glad you made it. Sarah?
Yes, my experience really is that I had to put myself on furlough because being a dyslexia assessor, that's a face-to-face thing that you have to do. So I've had to put myself on furlough, but dyslexia hasn't gone away. So I'm still getting lots of inquiries. And as from July, and hoping that I'm get my Perspex screen and wear my gloves and my mask, I will be back assessing.
Yeah, that's great, thank you. And Lady Sharon?
You nearly did it again there, Jackie.
I'm trying really hard.
I had an issue, actually. My support worker was one of the first ladies to actually go off work, if you remember, Jacqueline, with possible COVID because of a child being sent home from work. I was then left with no support worker, not knowing what to do, where to turn, or anything like that. Luckily, I found out that, you know, I could have my partner help me out, and he stepped into the breach. But yeah, I just had my support worker just basically disappeared one day, and through COVID, right at the very beginning, and I still don't have her back here now. To be honest, she's still off.
All right, thank you. Would anybody else like to make a comment? Noreen?
Yes, thank you. I'm not disabled in terms of my abilities, physical abilities. I work with women, and that is a protected characteristic. As you may have seen in my earlier slides, I am quite committed and sit on quite a number of organizations. And one of the things which I have been speaking quite vocally on quite a number of the entrepreneurship forums. I was on another one this morning of 10, this afternoon, in fact, there was the one on enterprise, is, you know, how are we protecting and making sure that women-owned businesses still have a platform to trade internationally, to trade locally, to be able to grow, because at the moment it is so far down the agenda, it's actually one of those that can easily fall between the cracks, and we need to make sure it does not, and it's always there. So that is really my main concern.
Thank you, thank you. Carol, I'm going to bring you in.
Sorry, just stay with that one. I think
yes.
The party group of the Brian, then obviously it would be about inclusive entrepreneurs, so that would be all the protected characters.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Cameron, I sit on the UK PPG for Women in Enterprise, together with Jacqueline and together with Helen, and we've pulled the report. I've actually been one of the people driving the international trade, so I've done the research, I've written the whole section on it. So unfortunately I bear the scars going forward, but you know, that has stopped. That was about a year ago, so we must make sure it does not fall the cracks. So that would be the place to pick it up. Thank you, I won't take more of your time.
Lisa, is there anything else you'd like to ask anybody before I bring it?
No,
I just want to do a brief summary. But
sorry, I've only got a few minutes left.
That's fine. That's fine.
But it's been fantastic. It really inspiring, and it's great. Actually, one of the positives. There's not been many positives of COVID, but one of the has been to reach out in such broader way, because so many people that we've been able to speak to, have Zoom meetings with, etc., are people who perhaps would have found it more difficult to come to Parliament. It's given me a bit more time to be able to follow up on some of the issues from the events I've done and the all-party group sessions I've done. So I'm delighted that this has happened today. I think it's been really positive and productive, and I think the APPG would be really successful going forward. So on that. So thank you for all your
Thank you. Thank you. So I'd just like to say thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Absolutely, and just I hope that what we've made clear today is that the inclusive entrepreneur is for any entrepreneur with any protected, and to be fair, we probably bring in socioeconomic as well. So for us, it's about anybody facing a barrier to enterprise. I'm really looking forward to doing the joint APPG with Pink Shoe and yourselves. That's going to be great, and we've already started to look at some key areas of work in that, and obviously we'll take that offline and we'll have those meetings with yourself going forward. And wonderful. And I thought it might be nice if Carol just, if you're prepared to do this, because we tried to get this in today, but we couldn't. I don't know if you're prepared to do this. You were going to send a little clip through. Might, yeah. and that way, if I thank everybody for, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, because I know how much hard work you put into everything that you do, and I really appreciate you all coming on board today. And maybe if Carol could sign us off with that, because I think it's really relevant.
If you want to go fast, you go alone. But if we want to go far, we go together.
Right, thank you so much. And thank you so much, Lisa. And I'll see most of you again tomorrow. So thanks ever so much, everyone. Bye.